our General Manager, Karibu Jerin.
Good afternoon, team.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Jerin.
Allow me to welcome all of you into this forum of today. And I want to believe that the training you're all going to get from today, that is going to last for the next 6 weeks, close to around 6 Saturdays consecutively, is a training that is going to be result-oriented, and also it is going to have an immense growth and development to you individually and also to Simba Telecom at large. I'm not feeling very well. I'm battling pneumonia.
Sorry.
So I won't take much of your time, but I have a few things to put across. I know it's been a while, I haven't seen you, my team, and I haven't talked to you, thanks to COVID-19, which came in around March 2020. It is still with us in this year, 2021, and I want to believe that we are still going to have it, and we have to embrace the new normal in the way we do and carry out our day-to-day activities. Now, again, allow me to thank the HR department and Purity, who is going to be the moderator of today, for having put this together for us to be able to have something that can work for all of us. You know, as I always say, that in the midst of challenges, there are always opportunities. Now you can see in the midst of this pandemic, we have training that is going to happen online, which is also a cost-cutting measure in terms of training, but you'll still get what you're supposed to get. Number two, I know we've had a rough time before as an organization. We still have it, and we'll keep on having this same turbulence. In this life, nothing comes easy, and whatever you can fix every single day, fix. Whatever is new that is coming up to be fixed needs to be fixed as well. And therefore, I only want to encourage all of you to be able to remain focused and have the right attitude in the way you carry out your activities, because attitude is virtually everything. Now, team, let me take this time again to thank all of you for the resilience you had and for the understanding you had and for the determination you've had during this period that has been very tough for every Kenyan, every citizen of the globe, both health-wise and economically. It's been ravaging and it's been hard for every folk. I thank you most sincerely from my heart that in the midst of this pandemic, you saw it wise to have your salary deducted and reduced by 25% for 3 months. You also accepted that we remove the incentives during that hard time that we experienced. I can't thank you enough, but only God can reward you. This again tells me how good people you are. It tells me the kind of team that I have that has really pushed Simba to be where it is today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for standing strong with the organization. And this is what it takes to be part of this good organization. Now, going into the future, I would like to say this. You need to remain focused. And people normally thrive during these hard times like this. Don't lower your guard. Put your eyes focused on the ball until we get there. It might be hard, but together as a team, we will always pull through. So before I let the moderator to carry on, there are just a few things I want to leave you with. Number one is about contribution. Contribution is the ultimate purpose of work and life. In this life, you must be a contributor in one way or the other. If you don't contribute in this life, then you're as good as dead. How do you want to be remembered when you exit this world? That even at the time of your exit, you want to say that I'm satisfied with what I did to humanity. So you need to have a contribution, whether in a small way or not. You need to have a contribution. Number two, after contribution, money comes. It is only when you've contributed into this society, whether at a personal level or at the level of employment or your business, that money will come. So let us first contribute to even our lovely organization, Simba Telecom. Then money will always follow you. Number three is about success. I want to say something about success. How do you view success in your lives, my team? Success is relative in nature. The way you view it is not the same way another person views success. So make sure that you do those small right things every single day consistently. You'll have success. And success is not something that comes about overnight. It is a process. And it's a process that also emanates from failures. You fail today, you pick up your pieces tomorrow, and you will get there. Under the same breath, I want to say that the most important single ingredient in the formula of success is knowing how to get along with people. How do you get along with people? People is also something that you need to really look at. How do you relate with the people around you? How do you relate with the people who are your customers? How do you relate with your colleagues? Do you bully them? Do you treat them with contempt? Make sure that you relate well with people, because when you relate well with people around you, success will come your way. Number four, on the same, it's impossible to build a tribute to success on a foundation of excuses. If you're a person who keeps having excuses on every little thing, you will not move an inch. You will not go far. Don't have excuses. Take responsibility for what you need to do or what has happened. Take responsibility. Don't be a person of excuses all the time. Now, the best out of others. You want to get the best from other people around you. Give the best from yourself first. It starts from yourself. What is it that I'm going to contribute? Once that is visible to the rest, they will follow suit. I want to say two things. The way you start your day determines how well you will live the rest of the day. Every single day when you wake up to go to work, the way you start your day, the first 30 minutes in the office will determine how the rest of the day will be like. If you walked in a lazy, if you walked in whining all the time, if you walked it will be very poor, and the output will be extremely poor. So make sure that the way you start your day is a great one. Be agile, embrace your customers, let them be your leaders, and the rest of your day will be fine. Number two, and finally, tell me and I will forget. Teach me, and I will remember. Involve me, and I will learn. That was a statement put by Benjamin Franklin, a former US president. I would like to see every employee of Simba being involved in decision making. We are one, but one under different responsibilities. Sure that you are all involved, all one and equal family, only that we have different responsibilities because we all contribute to the common and the greater good of Simba Telecom. So let us all be involved and we'll be able to go into greater heights. Finally, let us all observe COVID health protocols. This thing is real. In one, you've been affected, whether directly or indirectly. People have lost their lives. You felt this emotionally, even financially. So let's be cautious about our lives. Let us keep the distance, social distancing, and also make sure that you take care of even the families around you so that we will pull through this together. Madam Purity, thank you so much. And I wish you all the very best with this team. I know we are going to get good results from this training in the next 6 weeks. And how I wish that all this that we'll be able to learn from today henceforth is going to go a long way in really improving all of us as a team. May God bless you all, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jerry, for your kind remarks. I really hope all of us have taken into heart what you have just shared with us. You've talked about contribution, you've talked about success, you've talked about relatedness and giving no excuses at all whenever we come to our work. So I see a lot of time has gone already. So I don't know if Richard, you have any opening remarks? Then we start. If you have any, take less than a minute. Richard? Okay, I think he's not there. So then okay, a brief about this training. This is a training that will focus majorly on sales and marketing and customer service because with the nature of your work, we find like it's very difficult to separate both, you know, like some people are for customer service or other people are for sales and marketing. So we agreed that we merge these two topics as broad as they could be to become one particular topic. This entire session will take 6 weeks. So today is week 1 and it will go until 22nd of May. Bearing in mind, 1st of May will be on a Saturday and it's a holiday, so will not require you to log in on 1st of May. That's why it has kept to almost end of the month in May. Each session will take 2 hours. We'll really try to maintain it at 2 hours. So if we start at 3:15, we expect to be done about 5:15, at the very latest 5:30, every other Saturday. After the sessions, we'll share with you a link for giving us feedback for that particular session. For today's feedback, it will be a bit longer because it's the first one. We'll want to test, to assess more things like your internet connectivity. How was the webinar in terms of audibility? Were you able to see the presentations and all those? But after this particular assessment, the subsequent ones are very short because they only focus on the topics that we have trained that particular day. So for today, our trainer is Rosemary, very experienced leadership and communication specialist. She has worked with us for a while, and I believe she's best suited to be able to deliver these programs to you. I'll encourage all of us, if you have any questions, you stop us at any point so that you can ask your question. If you are called to contribute, feel free to contribute at whatever point as well. Especially, we'll also try to use different methods of training, not just lecture method. We'll have assessments, like today we have 2 separate assessments that we will share with you as we continue. And then at some other trainings might be forced to use videos, to use examples or games and all that. So let us be very open-minded when we are approaching this training. If in case of anything, you can just send me a message on the chat box and I'm able to see it and react to you if you're having difficulties hearing us. So I hope and I believe everyone is able to hear us loud and clear. Over to you, Rosemary. Enjoy your session. Let's make a difference on this team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Purity. I hope I'm loud enough.
Loud and clear.
Thank you very much. So I won't go back into the details of what the training is all about because that has been covered. It's a Saturday afternoon, so we need to make good use of the time that we have. And thank you so much, Mr. Jerim, for opening a very heavy contribution. I feel like that has covered a lot of what we shall probably be covering in the next few weeks. So thank you very much for reinforcing that and putting it in our minds. So today we started off with communication. I can see some serious students. John Mdemi, you look like a very serious student. What did they tell you communication is in school? When you went to school, what did they tell you communication is? You're on mute. John, you want to tell us what did they tell you communication is?
You can unmute yourself, John. John, you are muted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Okay, communication is passing a message.
It's passing a message.
Yes.
So if I tell you stand up and you stand up, I have communicated, right?
Yes, exactly.
But if I tell you sit down and you sit on the floor, have I communicated?
You have communicated, but in a wrong place.
But in the wrong, but I will have passed the message. So where is it becoming wrong? And I have passed the maybe the simplistic communication definition that you're given in school might not always work that well. Because for example, if I'm doing this as I share my screen, and Purity, you will confirm if it's clear enough also.
Yes, it is clear.
And thank you for those who are dropping chats. Yes, Coach Richie for helping me. So if you have anything to say, keep dropping it at the chat box. That makes it's very easy for us to communicate. So I was saying sometimes what you are given in school about what communication is, which is very right, what John has told us. We are told communication is passing information. So for those who went to the proper communication class, they were told it is the act of transmitting and receiving information. So if I tell you stand up and you stand up, I have communicated. But then the problem comes in when you tell somebody something and then they don't get exactly what you wanted them to get. So in that case, that definition becomes a bit limiting. And then you're left wondering, is that definition really what I meant? For example, if we came in today and asked everybody, how are you? How are you today? Chances are, if I ask Purity, how are you today? The common answer is,
I'm fine.
I'm fine, yes. So if she tells me I'm fine, that I'm fine can actually mean very many things. It can mean I'm feeling well. It can mean I'm happy. It can mean I was feeling unwell, but now I'm better. I was unhappy, but now I'm happy. Actually, I'm not feeling okay, but really, you don't know about it. Because sometimes you tell people we are fine, when actually it's just a cliche, just what you are used to saying. So in short, you're trying to say that communication is not that simplistic. It is not just telling somebody, passing information. There's much more to it. That much more to it is what you're trying to bring down to. It's not just the act of transmitting and receiving information. You're bringing it down to communication is the process of creating a shared understanding. So that's so much. If I tell you to sit down, do you really understand what I mean by you sitting down? Do I mean sit on the floor? Do I mean sit on the couch? Do I mean sit on the table? What do I mean when I say sit down? Because sometimes we assume that when somebody says something, that we actually understand what it's all about, but it's not necessarily so. So passing information is not enough. Don't just tell, and that happens a lot at work or even with clients. So when somebody asks you, then I told you, Si nilimwambia, ulimwambia lakini alishika. Kama hakushika, you did not communicate. Kama ulimwambia tu, that is not communication. You pass information. But if that person did not understand exactly what you meant, then in return, actually you did not communicate. So you have only communicated if you have shared the understanding. Whatever you meant for that person to understand and what they actually understood is the same. So that's the only time you have communicated. So next time you want to convince somebody like that nilimwambia or anajua, be sure that they actually understood what you meant them to understand. You did not just tell them, you did not just pass information. You did not just send an email, you did not just tell them what you want to tell them, but you actually shared an understanding. And that becomes very, very important. So the basic information and the most important thing about communication is making sure that you actually create a shared understanding, that the other person actually understands what you meant them to understand, not what you think they have actually understood. So don't just pass information, make sure there's a shared understanding, that both of you actually understand where each other person is coming from. How do you make sure that you create that shared understanding? We normally get that understanding at 3 levels. So before you try to create a shared understanding, you need to think of it from 3 levels. And the first level, which is where I have the outer part of it, is creating a relationship, what we normally call having a rapport. You cannot just assume somebody will get the information, whether you are selling them something or you're just trying to explain to them something. You cannot just drop me on the road and then tell you I'm selling you this phone. Just basically like we do as Kenyans or as human beings. You need to create a relationship with me first. You need to greet me first. You need to ask me how my day was. That's why we did not come into this training and just start what is communication. We greeted each other, we checked on each other, we got to say a few things, people opened up the session. So that is what we mean by creating a relationship. So you cannot really communicate well if you do not start it at that level. You need to first create a relationship with somebody. Then after the relationship level, you now get it down to passing information. You get to a point where now you can tell them what is it that you wanted to tell them. And these again apply even when you're writing an email. You always greet somebody before you tell them what you need to tell them. Then once you have passed the information, then there's the action bit. So what do you want them to do? Because sometimes you talk and talk and talk, and then somebody is left wondering, so what exactly did you want me to do? So in every communication that you make, you have to make sure that you break it down to those 3 levels, that you have created a relationship. And by creating a relationship, I mean you need to create a rapport. That this, I think as Kenyans and Africans, we are very good at creating rapport and building relationships. You'll always say hi to each other, have a bit of awareness of others, show interest in the other person. How was your day? How are you doing? Even if it might not mean much, but you're trying to create that kind of connection. Show a bit of sensitivity. Does the person look bored? Do they look like they're having a bad day? Just checking up on them. Choosing the right words. It's not every day that you want to go high-fiving everybody and just being all happy. You want to understand their environment before you get into them. Just try to talk to the person and get to create a rapport. Use a bit of verbal behavior, break the ice, greetings. Somebody looks like they woke up on the right side of the bed, compliment how they look, talk about the day. Familiar topic, if it started by raining in the morning, talk about the rains. Basically build a rapport with somebody before you even try to send them something or to solve any problems that they have. Make use of your physical behaviors, active listening. Listening means you have to show that you are with that person. Are you leaning forward to listen to them? Are you maintaining eye contact? Are you trying to mirror their body language? How you move your body shows that you're actually actively listening. You normally say for a human being, if you're talking and none of your body part is moving, there's a problem because we are human beings and you're supposed to be making a bit of movement. I cannot be talking here and but stand still, nothing is moving. Something is very wrong. If you're not making eye contact, your body is not moving, you're not showing any active participation in a conversation you're having with somebody, there's a problem. So even when you have a client walk into wherever you are, whether it's in customer service or in sales, when a customer walks in and you're trying to have a conversation with them, you need to be all engaged. Make use of all your senses when you're having a conversation with someone. Make use of active listening, create an eye contact, be nice in terms of how you create a rapport. That's the connection you create from the beginning determines how that relationship will unfold. If you approach somebody from a friendly perspective, you break the ice, they feel like you have a connection because you can discuss a certain familiar topic that they understand, then that's a very good ground for you to have started a communication relationship. After that, now, of course, you can share the information. Remember, the most important thing when you're sharing information is to make sure that you have a shared understanding. Like we said, a shared understanding is the most important thing. So that if I tell you this is what the match we are selling this, and we have this kind of discount, or this is what this gadget is going to do for you, is what you're telling me and what I'm getting the same thing. Remember, communication is not for you. Communication is for the person that you're actually talking to. So it doesn't matter how well you feel you communicated. If the other person did not get it, you still did not communicate. So it doesn't matter how well you think, like I told that person everything about this gadget. I told them about the storage, I told them about the camera, I told them about, but did they even understand? And do they even need that information? Because you could be giving them information that is actually not making sense to them. So sometimes just because information makes sense to you does not mean it makes sense to the other person. So before you assume that you have actually given out information, ask yourself, did I communicate for myself or for the person that I am talking to? Because communication only makes sense if the other person has actually understood. It doesn't matter how many times you repeat it. If the person did not get it, you still did not communicate. If they cannot understand, communication has failed. So you always have to be sure that the other person actually got it for you to confidently say that I actually communicated, and that they can repeat what you meant to say in their own words and still be able to explain it in the way that you actually meant for them to understand it. So if communication has to happen, it has to create that shared understanding. The other person has to get it in the way that you actually meant for them to understand it. Communication is for the other person, not for you. Once you have shared the information, now you can create action. Now you can tell me what about it. Now you can sell me that gadget. Now you can sell me whatever it is that you wanted to sell me, or you can tell me what now do I do next. Is this a problem I had come with? After you have created a relationship with me, after you have explained to me all that, then what next? What's the action? The action that I need to buy? Is the action that I need to wait for you to solve a certain issue? Is the action that you're going to communicate to me in the next 3 days? So the mistake that we make is that sometimes we just go directly to the action. We do not create a good relationship. We do not give the information that the person understands, and we just go direct to the action. So I walk into your shop, or you bump into me and you just want to sell me whatever you are selling. But have you tried to create a relationship with me first? Or I come to you and I have a complaint and you just go directly to the answer. Hapa hii ndio ilikuwa shida, tutakusort. That is going directly to the action. You have missed the first 2 steps. The first step is that you needed to create a relationship with me. You needed to create rapport. You need to make me feel like I'm another human being, like we have been friends for a while, even if we have not met before. You need to have given me general information about why was it, did we have this problem, what went wrong, what could happen to the future. Try and give me a bit of information. If you're selling me something, give me a lot of information about whatever it is that you're selling me. Then now you can get into the action of telling me, now this is what I'm selling by this much, or this was the issue and this is what you're going to do about it. So for communication to be really, really effective, you need to be able to understand it from those 3 levels. For you to be able to create a shared understanding, you need to be sure that you have gone through the 3 levels. Then in that case, you can actually be able to say that you can actually be able to ask to have action. So that will apply mostly when you're dealing with external people, when you're probably dealing with customers, or you're selling something. That would be very, very important. So if you have questions as we go along, drop them on the chat box, and we'll pick them at the end of the session so that you don't forget your questions. Drop them at the chat box as we continue. But then when you come to looking at communication internally, you can be able to look at people in different ways in which they communicate. So as we look at these different styles in which we communicate internally, I want you to ask yourself, where do you belong? And where does the colleague you work with closely belong in terms of their communication style? So we normally look at 4 different communication styles in terms of how people communicate, either internally or externally with the clients and other stakeholders, or even at home now that we have some people who could be working from home. So we have 4 major communication styles that we'll come across. We have some people who are aggressive communicators. We have some people who are passive communicators. And we have some people who are passive aggressive. And we have some people who are assertive communicators. So as we continue, we want to ask ourselves, where do I belong? Am I a good communicator, or are there things that I actually need to improve for me to become a good communicator? So let's look briefly at how each of these people normally communicate. Then you'll be able to ask ourselves, how can we improve, or how can we become better? So when we start with the first one, who are assertive communicators. Assertive communicators, they care about themselves. and they also care about the other person. So for them, every time they're having a discussion, whether it's internally with colleagues or externally with clients and other stakeholders, they're asking, how can I win? And how can the other person be able to win? And normally that's the best form of communication, like we shall see as we continue. Then you have the aggressive communicators. The aggressive communicators only care about themselves and they don't care about the other person. So for them, it is that they have to win at all costs. So whatever they want done, if it's in the office, whatever they want, information they want to pass, if it's time to share duties, they always want to be the one having things their way, and they're not likely to ever accommodate another person. Then you have the passive communicators. So for the passive communicators, we say, I don't care about myself, I care about you. So these are the people who always look at, I lose, you win. So they're not good at having arguments. They're not good at bargaining. They're not good at being able to speak their point. So most of the time, they will always let the other person have their way. Again, in a normal world, that is not a really good thing to do. And then you have the passive aggressive people. They don't care about themselves and they don't care about the other person. So for them, they generally don't care. So that we normally say they generally don't care. So for them is, I lose, you lose. If I don't get it, you also don't get it. So if you look at the people you work with, and if you look at yourself, you want to ask yourself, anytime you have a disagreement in the office, or anytime you have to have a communication to solve an issue with a client or with a colleague, which way do you easily go? Are you the aggressive type that everything have to go your way all the time? Are you the passive person who always gives in and lets everybody else have it their way? Are you the passive aggressive who says, if you don't get it, I also don't get it? Or are you assertive? Are you able to say, let's see where we get what you want and I also get what I want? Because it's very important for you to learn how to communicate with other people, for you to be able to fit in well, and for you to be a good team player when you're having communication at the workplace. So let's have a basic look at each of them, just so that you have a deeper understanding of what you're talking about. Passive communicators, how do they behave? You normally say they're very apologetic because they always feel like they're supposed to do everything for everyone. So that even if the other person is not working, the other person is coming late, the other person is not doing their work, they're always taking it in for the other person, and they're not going to say anything. Even when the other person is wrong, they're not likely to say it. So they're very apologetic. They're inexpressive, meaning they don't express themselves. You do not know whether they are unhappy or they are happy. Then when something is really wrong, they're not going to say this part, hujafanya vizuri, or I'm feeling like this is too much for me. They don't get to say anything. So they are always avoiding any confrontation because they don't want disagreements. They don't want any arguments. So they're always quiet. They're not going to say what they think. So that means also they find it very difficult to stand up for themselves, to take up responsibilities or take tough decisions. If maybe a client has come in and a tough decision needs to be made, if somebody is wrong and you need to tell them, they are not able to do that. So they're always yielding in to other people's preferences. They're always letting the other person win. They're always letting everybody else have their way. They're never going to say, no, we cannot do it this way, or I think this is too much, let's try this other one. They are never going to stand up for anything and say what they think or what they feel. They'll always let the other person have their way. So those are passive communicators. Normally they speak very softly. They speak very softly. And they always try to, even if, irrespective of whether they have a big body or a small body, they'll always look small, their head down, they don't confront things. They look like they're panicking or they're anxious most of the time. They do not maintain an eye contact. So you want to ask yourself, do you maintain an eye contact when you're having a conversation with someone? But that also makes them have what we call a victim mentality, because people are always on their case. They're always being pushed by others who are more confident. And so they are always pushed around pretty much, which is not a good thing for them. It might be a good thing for the other person, but it is not a good thing for them. So they are very soft-spoken, keep a small posture, very anxious most of the time. They can't keep an eye contact. Remember, if you can't keep an eye contact, then it shows you're not confident enough. That also gives them a victim mentality. They always feel like watu wanawaonea, yet it's because they're not able to speak up for themselves. So they feel like people are too much on their case, but it's not like people are too much on their case. It is just that they are not able to stand up for themselves, which is not a good thing. So you always want to make sure passives are not able to stand up for themselves. Then you have the aggressives. You have the aggressive communicators. These ones are very frightening. They are very loud and can be very hostile. So these are the people when a client comes in with an issue or a colleague has done something, they don't know how to sit and have a sober conversation. They are shouting at you, they almost bang tables, they are threatening, and they are shouting, and you're wondering, why can't we have a sober conversation? They can be very loud. And again, even from clients, you're also going to get this kind of clients who can be very aggressive out of a very small thing. They want to achieve goals at the expense of others. So it doesn't matter what it takes. Things have to be done their way. It doesn't matter kama atakukanyanga, kama atakurusha nje, whatever it takes, go behind your back, push you, threaten you, whatever it takes, they're going to push it and push it at the expense of everybody else. They want things done their way. So they're always out to win. They're always out to make sure that they get things their way. They're very demanding and very abrasive and very unpredictable, because you could be just having a nice conversation, then they realize like you're winning, then they just shout and start shouting at you, and they become very loud. So they can be very unpredictable to deal with. And that also means they can be a bit intimidating, and they can almost bully you, because they're very pushy. They want things done their way at all costs. And that's why we consider them to be very, very aggressive, because they are pushing everything to be done the way they want, not necessarily have a conversation to understand where you are coming from, which is not a very healthy way of doing things. So when you deal with this kind of people, of course, they're very loud. They're very loud people to deal with. Their posture, they'll always try to they'll try to look like they're bigger than others, even when they have a small body. They'll always try to walk like they're big and strong enough to just try and intimidate you. Their gestures, they have very sharp and jerky gestures. They move their hands and movement a lot to scare you. You look at their facial expression when they are talking to you, they're glaring at you, they're almost frowning. In short, they're almost scaring you. Even by looking at them physically, you would get scared and a bit worried about what is about to come your way. And they invade your personal space. It's in the office, that's a person who comes to stand right next to you, so that they're almost too close to you until you're getting uncomfortable, because you feel like they're getting too close and you want them to give you a bit of space. So they are invading your personal space, they're standing over you, too close to you, so you feel like they're pushing you too much. These are the aggressive kind of people. So you find them as colleagues, as clients, or even wherever else the space that you're in, and you need to ask yourself, could you be that kind of a communicator, especially when you have a disagreement with somebody else? So they use not a very good language when you're having a conversation with them. They're the people who are just going to tell you, you are crazy, you need to do it my way, you make me sick, this is just about enough. So they're always threatening you. They could even call you names, they can easily insult you, they can be very sarcastic. So they become a bit hard for you to deal with them, because they're not able to calm down and allow you to say something. They're always hitting back before you're even able to say anything. So if you're working with this kind of people, it becomes a bit tricky sometimes because of that kind of aggression. So sometimes the people around them become uncooperative because they don't deal with that kind of a person. They become very resentful because you don't work with somebody who is always bullying you and insulting you and pushing you around. Of course, it's hurting. You're very afraid of having to deal with this kind of a person on a day-to-day basis. Generally, we are trying to say that working with this kind of a person or dealing with this kind of a client becomes a bit difficult, because you're always wondering what next. Are they going to blow up the next minute? Are they going to shout at me before I'm even aware that the person is just going to shout at me? So it becomes a bit difficult to work with this kind of a person. Then you have the passive aggressives. Passive aggressives, they're indirectly aggressive. So they're not shouting at you, and they're also not passive. So they're not going to keep quiet and do everything that you want them to do. So they're indirectly aggressive. So they're very sarcastic. So you think they're going to do what you want them to do, but ideally, they're actually not going to do it. So they're always sulking, like the lady I have on that photo. So they're the people who you are talking to and they're rolling their eyes because they're thinking, you just keep talking. I'm not going to do it anyway. But you keep talking. So in their mind, they know they're not going to do it, but they're just listening and behaving like they're actually with you. So that's why we say they are two-faced. They have two faces. They're pleasant on your face, but they're very poisonous behind your back. Because when you're having a conversation one-on-one, they're very nice. You would think they're going to follow everything you're telling them. They are following, they're even sounding like they're being supportive. But the moment they leave there, nothing is actually going to get done. So they're also very difficult to deal with because you don't know what will happen next. You think they are with you, but behind the doors, they're actually not witty. When you're dealing with them, they're actually very soft-spoken. They sound like really nice people. They are very nice, sugary, sweet voices. Their posture, though, you can tell it's not really nice. They are the people who will always have their hand on the hips, like they're trying to just give you a sarcastic look. But their facial expression is nice. They're always nice, innocent, and sweet looking. So you might not even think they're likely to do anything bad behind your back. If it's before COVID, they'll be able to stand very close to you. They're very warm. They're very friendly. They'll give you a hug. They're very nice people to deal with on your face. But after that, behind your back, they're not going to do anything that you had agreed they're actually going to do. So what kind of language do they use? They're the people who are just going to say, I don't care, but someone else might. Like we say, for them, it's I lose, you lose. So they don't care. I don't care, but someone else might care about it. I don't. You can do this your way, but I don't think it's going to work. So in short, they're not helping you do the work, but they also don't think you can do it. So they're not helping the situation at all. They're going to say something like, I think you did a good job, but they might not think so. So they're the people who are always, no, they're not shining, but they're also not helping you shine. So they're very difficult people to be able to understand with them. So those are the passive aggressive people. And then we have the final and the most important kind of conversation to learn, the assertive style. The assertive is normally in the middle. Like we said, when you're an assertive person, you respect yourself and you also respect the other person. Remember, when you're a passive communicator, you are disrespecting yourself. You don't respect yourself because you let people bully you. You let people step on you. You let take in everything that everybody is saying without standing up for yourself, or you can just say what you think. So you are disrespecting yourself if you're a passive communicator. If you're an aggressive communicator, you are disrespecting others because you want everything to be done your way. You are shouting at them, you are bullying them, you want to achieve things at the expense of other people. You can go home early and then do the work. You can relax and leave other people to do the work. So you are disrespecting everybody else so that you can have it your way. But when you're an assertive communicator, you learn how to both. You learn how to respect yourself and respect the other person. And that's the best way to learn how to communicate. So you understand the needs of other people, you understand your own needs, and then you meet at the middle. Like you said, aggressive looks at your own needs, passive looks at the needs of other people, assertive, you look at both. How do I take care of others and how do I take care of myself in the process? So the first way to become an assertive communicator is to have a good self-esteem. So assertive communication is born of high self-esteem. Because if you are passive or aggressive, we say you have a problem with your self-esteem. So people who have very good and high self-esteem, they are assertive communicators. They can say what they feel, they can say what they want, but it doesn't have to always be done their way. So it is the healthiest and most effective style of communication. It is the style that you actually want to learn. It means that you have the confidence to communicate without resorting to games of manipulation. You don't need to manipulate anybody. You don't need to play any games to get people to work or to get somebody to work with you or to deal with the people around you. You can actually confident to say what you think. How do these people behave, or what are their characteristics? They're able to achieve goals without hurting others. If you're an assertive communicator, you can actually achieve goals without having to hurt anybody. You don't have to step on people, you don't have to bully people, you don't have to push them around, but you can achieve your goals at the end of it. You protect your own rights and respect the rights of other people, so that if you want something done, you can say you want something done, or you can say what you think, how you think things should be done. But you also understand that other people also have their views, and their views also need to be brought on the table for them to be heard. It also means that they are socially and emotionally expressive. They're able to express themselves. What do they feel? What do they think? As they're able to express themselves socially, they can have a sober conversation with other people without bullying them or without being too quiet not to say anything. Emotionally, they can say, I think at this point, I think this is too much for me to handle, or I think this is too much for this person to handle, so that you're able to look out for yourself and also look out for other people. They're able to make their own choices. They're able to make their own choices and take responsibility for them. So remember, the passive communicator is having a problem making their own choices. So they wait for other people to make choices, then they follow. The aggressive person on the other side will make choices, but will never take the blame or take responsibility. They want somebody else to take the blame and somebody else to take responsibility. But if you are an assertive communicator, you can make a choice, decide this is what I'm going to do, or guys, this is what I think we should do. And if something goes wrong, they take responsibility as well. So if you're an assertive communicator, it doesn't mean you're always right. It means when things go wrong, you can actually accept, we made a mistake here. And now I take responsibility for this, and this is what we are going to do about it, or this is what I am going to do about it. That's what it means to be an assertive communicator. If you have something that you want done, or you have a need that you want met, you can ask for your needs to be met, but you also accept the possibility of rejection. Because it does not mean that every time you want something to be done, you will always get it. No, you will not always get what you want. But it also doesn't mean that if you want something, you don't ask. So if you want something, you're going to ask for it. If you don't get it, you also know that it's not all the time that things are always going to be done your way. So today somebody might be able to help you do some work, tomorrow they might not be able to help you. And it's still okay if they are not able to. But if you need help, you need to learn how to ask for that help without bullying people to get it done. It also means that you accept compliments. The other problem we have with passive communicators, they don't accept compliments. The aggressive communicators, they want to take compliments without even being given. But when you're an assertive communicator, you accept compliments. You wait to be given the compliments. You wait to be told you actually have done a good job, and you are thankful when you're given such compliments. So you don't push it, but once you get it, you are happy and glad that you actually get it. So what happens depending on what kind of communication you use? Of course, if you're an aggressive communicator, people are going to avoid you. Nobody wants to be dealing with somebody who can lipuka and go berserk anytime and start pushing and shouting at others. So people are going to avoid you if you're an aggressive communicator. If you're a passive communicator, because you don't complain much, and people like somebody who doesn't complain much, so you look soft and nice, so people get attracted to you. But remember, you can easily be bullied, and it's also a mark of low self-confidence. So if you are very passive, you never say anything, you never say what you think, you never stand up for yourself at any one time. You look nice at the beginning, but eventually you can easily get bullied, and people start thinking that you are not confident enough, or you don't have a good self-esteem. If you are a passive-aggressive communicator, of course, people look at you like you're nice at first because you're very friendly, but with time they realize you are two faces. You're nice on their face, and the back you're not a nice person. So you cannot keep long-lasting relationships. People cannot tell you what your intentions are. So it becomes very tricky to deal with you. So with time, people also start avoiding you because they don't know what they're dealing with. So you cannot keep long-lasting relationships. So even at work, you realize people don't want to be associated too much with you. They don't want to really work with you because they don't know what will happen next. But if you have an assertive communicator, it means you build a respectful environment for yourself and for other people. So you build a very respectful environment where people can speak their mind, where you can also speak your mind, and you're always ready to listen to other people and see what they have to say. It also means that you can stand up for yourself and you can stand up for other people. So it's not always about you. If somebody else is not being treated right, there's a client who you think somebody should have done something different, you can actually say that I think this was wrong, and this is what I think should have been done. Whether it is you who was wrong or it's somebody else who was wrong, you can actually stand up for yourself and stand up for other people. And that also means you have the courage to point out what is right and what is wrong for others. So that is what being assertive means. It means that you can stand up for yourself and you can stand up for others. You can say what you think, and you can say what you think the other person should have done. Whether they're going to take it or not, what matters is that you can actually stand up for yourself and stand up for other people. So those are the 4 things you need to think about when you're thinking about being an assertive communicator. So just for us to be able to ask ourselves whether we are assertive communicators, and because I want to be sure that people have not gone to sleep. So I'll be calling out somebody to read for us one question. So that question, what you want to ask yourself as you read that question is, how many times are you going to answer yes to those questions? So if you get a lot of yes, it means you're an assertive communicator. If you don't get a lot of yes, or you get less than 10 yes, it also means you are not an assertive communicator. So I talked to John, so I'll spare John now. Joyce Mwangi, can you, is that Joyce in a cape?
In a cape, let me just check.
Yes, that's Joyce. Joyce, read for us the first question. or the first statement, I mean. Yeah, so that I know you guys can see what I'm seeing.
I'm comfortable meeting new people in social situations.
Yes, I am comfortable meeting new people in social situations. So that is a statement. You ask yourself, is that a yes or is that a no? So you're going to, I'm assuming everybody has a piece of paper somewhere. So every time we read a statement, you ask yourself for that, is that a yes for me or is it a no for me? So that at the end of it, you're going to see how many yeses you have and how many no's we have. Then you're going to see if you're an assertive communicator or not. Let me see who is next. The people who don't have a name are lucky. Anthony Liconi, are you there? Anthony Liconi, I can't see a face, but I can see a name. Okay, I'm not sure if Anthony can hear me. Steve Miner, read for me the next statement. Steve, I can see you. Before Anthony comes back, I can see Anthony trying to appear. It's the time we will know who knows to unmute.
The unmute button is on the left, bottom left, whether you are using your phone or your laptop, bottom left.
You can see Steve trying to look for his unmute button.
Bottom left.
He's looking for help. Assuming he's the one seated there, not somebody else. Or I can see there are many on that one machine. Okay, this might take him a while. Let me see who is next.
Okay.
Ask Henry.
Henry.
Henry, where are you? There are people who are seeing you. Henry? Can I hear him? No, I can't.
Henry, he's not unmuted. He's still muted.
As I wait, let me ask Kevin. Kevin Wanzala, because I can see you.
Hello.
Hey, yes, first the second statement.
Okay, I am able to say no without feeling guilty or anxious.
Yes, I am able to say no without feeling guilty or anxious. So answer whether that is a yes or a no for me. What did I lose? The person I had. Okay. Trying to look for people who look like they can see me. Simba Maua. Because you don't have a name. Maua, read first the next statement.
We can't hear you.
Okay, for some reason your audio is gone. Have you tried to figure that out? Let me see who is next. Nyeri, Nyeri, I can't see your face, but I can see your image.
Unmute yourself.
Now you know the next training is for telling people how to unmute.
Yes, unmute yourself.
Who?
Nyeri.
Okay, read first that statement. Was it the third or the second? The third. Yeah? Okay, your internet must be pretty bad. Let me look for somebody. I'm tempted to go back to Angela. Angela, read for us the next like 3 or 4 now that I think your network is the best for today.
Okay. I can express strong feelings such as anger, frustration, or disappointment.
Next.
I can easily request help and information from others.
Thank you. So we said as we read the statement, ask yourself, is that a yes for you or a no for you? The next one.
I think that.
Sorry, I think we are losing you also.
Sorry, I feel capable of learning new things and performing new.
Yeah, I feel capable of learning new things and performing new tasks. Is that a yes or a no for you? If you can't see the statements, just give us your comment, just so that we are sure we are all on the same page. Let me look for somebody else. And where are you?
You want me to read, I am able to acknowledge and take responsibility of my own mistakes.
Yes, I'm able to acknowledge and take responsibility for my own mistakes. Is that a yes or a no? The next one, and this one, what's the next two?
I can discuss my beliefs without judging those who don't agree with me. I am able to express my honest opinion to others, even if they don't agree.
Yes. So you want to ask yourself, is that a yes or a no for you? Are you able to discuss your beliefs without judging those who don't agree with you? Are you able to express your honest opinion to others, even if they don't agree? Is that a yes or a no for you? Let me see somebody else. Daniel, were you able to talk to us? Yeah, we can't hear you.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I can't hear you, unfortunately. So let me look for somebody. Hello, yeah.
Hello.
I'm not sure who is talking.
Hello, my name is Callistus.
Yes, Caristas.
I'm calling from Voi. I'm comfortable delegating tasks to others. To me, that one is yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one is that one. Oh, that's almost the last one. You are on number 7 or 8.
We are at, I tell others when their behavior is not acceptable to me. Yeah.
Yes, but at least that tells me most people are able to read what we are reading, but I need to read all of them. Zach, Benjamin, read for me the next one.
I can speak confidential in group situations.
Yes, I can speak confidently in group situation. Read the next two as well.
I believe my needs are as important as others and should be considered.
Next.
I can assert my beliefs even when the majority disagrees with me.
Yeah, thank you very much. So you want to ask yourself, is that a yes or a no for you? Can you speak confidently in group situations? Do you believe in your needs are as important as those of others and should also be considered? Can you assert your beliefs even when others don't agree with you? Is that a yes or a no for you? The last three, let me see. Sarah Andeka. Did I cut you off guard?
I can express anger or disappointment without blaming others.
Next.
I am comfortable delegating tasks to others.
The last one.
I value my own experience and
your wisdom. Yes. So you want to ask yourself, out of all those, if you can get at least 10 yeses, out of those statements, then that means you are assertive. If you get less than 10, it means you are not assertive. So you can look at the poll and tell us if you got more than 10 or if you got less than 10. So I'm pausing there for a minute for you to add how many yeses did you get? Are they more than 10 or are they less than 10? Then we are going to tell you whether you are assertive or whether you are not assertive. So I'm pausing there for a second as I wait for you to count your yeses.
Please answer the poll. You should be on your screen right now.
Yes, confirm that you can see I can see everybody else should be able to see the poll. How many yeses did you get from those statements? More than 10 or less than 10?
Rosemary, do we end the poll? So far, 33 people have answered. Of the 33, 32 are more than 10. Only one less than 10.
Okay, that means majority of us think, assuming they did not lie to us, the assumption is that the majority of us are assertive. Is a good thing. For those who are not assertive, you want to ask yourself, what can you do to be more assertive? I think I saw that question somewhere, but I'm sure there's somebody who asked, what can you do when you're working with people who are maybe aggressive or passive? Shall we see that as we look at personalities as well? So, Purity, you want to end the poll from your end?
Yes, I've ended it.
Okay. So just to summarize that, I want us to play a short video.
Okay.
So that people can stop hearing too much of my voice.
Hi, I'm Counselor Carl. Today I want to explain the 4 styles of communication: passive, aggressive, passive-aggressive, and assertive. Those of you who grew up in dysfunctional families may never have learned to communicate effectively in relationships. You may be passive and unwilling to advocate for yourself, or aggressive and attempt to run roughshod over others, or passive-aggressive and smile while sabotaging others behind their backs. If so, then no wonder your relationships are not working well. In order to build healthy relationships, you must learn to be assertive. You must learn to say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean. So let's talk about the 4 styles of communication and why 3 of them simply don't work. First, there is passive communication, which is born of low self-esteem. Passive communicators avoid expressing their opinions and feelings, fail to set boundaries with others, and do not assert for themselves in relationships. They believe their needs and feelings are wrong or bad and refuse to ask others to meet them. They allow others to abuse them, manipulate them, or take advantage of them. They exhibit poor eye contact and slump body posture and tend to speak softly or apologetically. The impact of a pattern of passive communication on such persons is that they feel anxious because life seems out of their control, and depressed because they feel stuck, hopeless, and bad about themselves. They also feel resentful because their needs are not being met, and they feel confused because they ignore their own feelings and needs, which are meant to guide them. As such, passive communicators are unable to resolve conflicts through negotiation because they are unwilling to express their opinions, feelings, wants, and needs. Sadly, passive communicators are unable to heal, grow, or have healthy relationships because real issues are never addressed. Next, we have aggressive communication, which is born of low self-esteem and powerlessness, often caused by physical and emotional abuse in childhood. Aggressive communicators will violate the rights of others to get their needs met. They will use physical and emotional abuse, humiliation, intimidation, criticism, and blame, and act in rude and threatening ways. They have low frustration tolerance, so they easily blow up. They do not listen well and frequently interrupt others, often speaking in a loud and demanding voice with piercing eye contact and overbearing posture. The impact of a pattern of aggressive communication is that such persons alienate others by generating fear and sometimes hatred. They are unable to participate in resolving conflicts because they simply demand that others give them what they want. And since they blame others for their problems and mistakes, they are unable to grow, heal, or have healthy relationships. Next, there is passive-aggressive communication, born of repressed resentment and an extreme sense of powerlessness. Passive-aggressive communicators appear cooperative and friendly, while consciously or subconsciously doing things to annoy, disrupt, and sabotage others. They feel powerless to deal directly with the objects of their resentments, thus use subtle sabotage to express their anger. They mutter to themselves rather than confront the person or issue because they refuse to acknowledge their anger. They use facial expressions that don't match how they feel, such as smiling when angry, and use sarcasm to put others down. The impact of a passive-aggressive communication style on such individuals is that they become alienated from those around them, live in emotional isolation, and remain stuck in a position of powerlessness. They discharge their resentments in indirect ways while real issues and their anger are never acknowledged. As such, they remain stuck, unable to heal, grow, or have healthy relationships. Which is born of healthy self-esteem and respect for self and others. Assertive communicators express their needs, feelings, wants, and opinions clearly, directly, and respectfully. They use I statements and convey respect for others. They listen well without interrupting and make good eye contact while speaking in a calm and respectful tone with relaxed body posture. They do not allow others to abuse or manipulate them because they stand up for their rights while respecting the rights of others. The impact of a pattern of assertive communication is that such individuals feel in control of their lives, feel connected to others, and feel good about themselves. They are willing to negotiate to resolve conflicts while creating a respectful environment for others to grow into. And they are comfortable acknowledging their mistakes, and thus are able to heal, participate in creating healthy relationships. Now, all four styles of communication have their place. For example, being passive when dealing with a drunk husband. Being passive-aggressive is a good strategy if you're a prisoner of war, since being assertive with guards would be laughed at. Being passive would make you feel like you've stopped fighting the war, and being aggressive, well, that would surely get you killed. So smiling while sabotaging and disrupting behind the scenes would be the perfect strategy for taking on the guards. And there are even times when being aggressive makes sense, such as if you're being assaulted, because assertively stating, "Sir, when you hit me in the face with that board, it greatly upsets me, so please stop." Well, that would only allow the aggressor to continue beating the crap out of you. A more effective style of communication would be to aggressively yell, scream, and knock the person down so you can escape. But the simple truth is this: 99% of the time, being assertive is the most effective style of communication. Thus, it must become your style of communication if you hope to have healthy relationships. So remember the slogan, say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean, and keep practicing it every day.
Rosemary, the video has ended.
Yes. Oh, I'm the one who stopped it.
All right.
Yes. Oh, you thought it got lost. Because the rest of the part did not have the information we needed, so I wanted to stop it at that point. But I think the last statement, the people were asking, how do you learn to become assertive? The last statement or the opening and the last statement should tell you that you always need to say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean. That is the simplest way to summarize being assertive. Always say what you mean, meaning you learn to express yourself. Mean what you say so that what you say is genuine. It's the facts that you're talking about. Sio kuonea watu or sio udaku. And then finally, don't say it mean. Don't say it from a mean perspective, like the aggressive or the passive aggressive. Say it confidently. I think somebody else mentioned or was asking, does it mean then having self-confidence is an indicator of how well you communicate? That's very true. How you communicate is actually a clear indication of your level of self-esteem or your level of self-confidence. So for you to become a great or a good communicator, build your self-confidence, build your self-esteem, because it makes you a better and a good communicator. Because then you don't have to oppress somebody else for you to be heard, and you don't have to oppress yourself to avoid being heard. You can actually be heard without being mean to the people around you. So build your self-confidence, and then that becomes easy for you. How you build your self-confidence is a whole topic for the day, but also it simply means that you are confident in who you are, your worth, and your value as a human being, and you're confident in your ability in the work that you do, and ability to interact with the people around you. That's basically what forms self-esteem and self-confidence. Your confidence in your worth as a human being, or your value as a human being, and confidence in your ability or capability to do the work that you do. If you believe in yourself in those two aspects, then you have a good self-esteem, and you can easily communicate with the rest of the people. I think that's to summarize what you've talked about, and I think that was probably the larger part. The other two parts won't be that long, of course, again, because of time. So keep dropping your comments. I'll be checking them as we go along. So our next section was on personality.
Rosemary, just hold on a second. Do you want to handle the questions around communication now, or we handle all of them at the very end?
I was thinking we handle them at the very end, because chances are they will interlink with the other two items we are talking about. Some questions might be answered as we go along, but also for purposes of time.
All right, continue.
Yeah, but keep dropping them. I know you and Coach Richie must be noting them somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. So we can now move on to communication. Evans, kindly mute yourself.
Let me mute him from my end.
Okay.
Muted.
Thank you. So there are many forms of personalities or personality profiling. So you're going to come across very many types of personality profiling. But for the sake of this session, we are going to look at this specific kind of personality profiling. We call it the DISC personality. The DISC personality profiling. DISC basically, I can see Botoni is making noise at the back. So DISC is basically the letters as they are. At this rate, we might need to mute everyone.
Yes.
Okay.
And Rosemary, you're muted.
I'm good now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So saying we are going to specifically for this session look at the DISC personality. There are many other personality profiles that you'll come across, but for purposes of this session, I want us to look at those four. So DISC is basically as it is, D-I-S-C, that forms the word DISC. That's why it's called the DISC personality. Because we do not have the time now to go into the tests itself. So as I describe the four personalities, I want you to ask yourself, what is your dominant color? Which color do you think stands out? And then we shall I'll take a poll at the end of it, and then you'll tell us which color do you think described you the most. And then in that case, we are going to see where you belong and how does that affect your communication as well. So those are the angles we shall be looking at it. So let's ask ourselves, what is this all about? So the first D stands for dominant. So we normally say these people are naturally dominant. When you're looking at dominant people, we are looking at, or when you look at these 4 personalities, we are looking at it from the 4 angles. The 4 angles in the sense that, are you outgoing or reserved? Or in other language, are you an extrovert or an introvert? Still have quite a bit of background noise. Okay, I think we are good now. So we are asking ourselves, okay, something, I don't know what's up with Ivan's side because he's writing on my screen. Evans, what's going on? Okay, I have no idea how I'm going to deal with that security.
I'm just trying to see if now I'll be forced to mute everyone.
Yeah.
Rosemary, you can unmute yourself. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So now the challenge I've been left with is whatever Evans has decided to write on our screen. So I have no idea how he did that. Or how to read.
Okay, let's proceed. I can see the writings on my end as well, but I don't know how to remove them.
Okay, so like I was saying, the 4 personalities are based on the fact that whether somebody is outgoing or reserved, that is whether you are an extrovert or an introvert, and whether you are task-oriented or people-oriented. What that means is that do you focus more on work getting done, or do you focus on making sure that the people around you are actually okay? So based on that, then you can be able to say which is your personality, where do you belong the most. So the first D stands for dominance, and they are always given the red color. So in that case, it means they're outgoing, meaning they're outspoken, they speak out, and they're also task-oriented. They focus more on getting work done. Then the I stands for influencing. So these people are also outgoing and people-oriented, meaning they are the highest level of extroversion. They're the most social people that you are actually going to come across. They are outgoing and they're also people-oriented. Then you have the S. It stands for the steady people who are given the green color. So they are people-oriented and reserved, meaning they are quiet, they are not as talkative, but they care a lot about people. And then you have the compliant people who are given the blue color. They are task-oriented and they are reserved. So in that case, what we are saying is that they focus on getting work done and they're also very quiet. They're very reserved. They don't talk as much. So as we finish to talk about the 4 personalities, what I want you to ask yourself is that, are you a red? Are you a yellow? Are you a green? Or are you a blue? So by the time we finish the 4 personalities, I want you to ask yourself, are you a red? Are you a yellow? Are you a green? Or are you a blue? So by the end of the discussion, we see how many we have where. So let's talk more about, let's describe each category so that you have a better understanding of how they look like. So the reds are the people when you're at work or when you're in the office, they always say, let's do it now. If something needs to be done, they want it done right now. They don't anybody to waste time. They don't know why you're taking time to think. They want it done here and now, right now. Let's get this done to malizane nayo. So normally they are very determined people. They're very, very determined. They're very demanding. Maybe that's why they're given the red color. They're almost like danger. They demand so much. So they want everything done and they want it done now, and they don't understand why you're not getting it done. They're very competitive. So if you try to have a discussion with them or try to have an argument, they are never going to bow down. They will argue until tomorrow comes because they have to win. They're very competitive. They are always arguing their point out and they want to win at all costs. But they're very strong-willed. They're the people you don't have to push to get things done. If something needs to get done, they are motivated to get it done. They are pushing around to make sure that actually it gets done. That also means they're very highly driven. They're highly driven. Oppo F3, do you have a question? I can see a hand up, or you can put it on the chat box. They're also very highly driven. So they are always motivated. They are the people who don't have to remind to wake up and get something done. They're very highly driven, but they are not patient. They're not patient at all. That's why they believe everything has to be done right now. So that is why their point is always, let's do it now. We are not going to wait for tomorrow. We are getting it done right now. So they are not that patient. So those are the red people. They're very determined, but very demanding and very pushy, very competitive. So you are not likely to win an argument with them, because for them, they can compete until the day ends. They're very strong-willed, very strong-willed. That means you don't have to push them to get things done. If something needs to get done, they're going to start it off. And highly driven, they will wake themselves up in the morning to chase what they want to get done, but they're not patient. So they're not going to give you time to think through things or get things done. They want something done and done right now. They don't have all the time to wait. When you're communicating with this kind of a person, remember those people who are asking how to communicate or deal with different people. What if your boss or the colleague you have in the office is this kind of a person who is not patient, who wants things done now, who is very competitive, who is very demanding? How do you communicate with such a kind of a person? First thing first, get to business very quickly. Remember, they are not people-oriented, they are task-oriented. They focus on work. So when you're having a conversation, get to business very fast. Don't start telling them about your stories. Don't tell them how your day was. Don't tell them how good they look. They don't care about personal stuff. Get to business quickly. Be very precise. Talk direct and to the point. They don't many stories. Summarize in point form as much as you can. Be very confident. Remember, they can be a bit demanding. They can be a bit pushy, and they're almost intimidating, but they don't realize it. They can easily intimidate you. They can almost bully you. So you have to be very confident for you to be able to interact with them. Be time conscious. They care about time, so they don't want their time wasted. So when you're having a conversation with them, you want to be able to communicate pretty fast. And that's pretty important. Give facts only. They're going to give them facts only. They don't care about the stories behind whatever explanation you have. Go directly to the facts. Avoid too much details. Don't keep explaining to them too many things. They just want to know what is the result. If I came with this complaint, just tell me how you're going to solve this problem. Don't start explaining to me, my boss did, my colleague did, this is what happened. They don't all those stories. Don't give them the stories of what went wrong where. Just tell them, how are you going to solve the problem? So if it's a client who is angry and is a demanding kind of a client, just go direct to the point. Just go direct to the outcome. What are you going to do and when are you going to
Anna, can you come mute?
Then things you don't want to do when you're interacting with this kind of a person, don't be vague. Don't try to give too many stories that they are actually not understanding, beating around the bush and trying to explain too many people, too many things. They actually don't care about all those explanations. Don't try to take control, because remember, they are very competitive and they are very demanding. So the more you try to control, the harder it becomes. So don't try to control, because you're just going to make the situation worse. And don't get personal. Remember, they are not people-oriented. So don't start to get into personal details of your life or of their life. They don't care. Just go directly to the point and give them the results that they want to get. Just give them the solution. You don't go into the stories behind it. So those are the red people. So if you want to ask yourself, do you think from that definition, do you think you belong to the red personality? Are you the determined, competitive, highly driven person, but who is also not very patient and can sometimes be a bit intimidating and almost bullying to the people around you? Then the next category of people we had are the yellows. The yellows normally say, let's do it together. Remember, the reds were saying, let's do it now. The yellows will always say, let's do it together, because they like doing things together. They like working in a team. They're not good at working alone. So they'll only work well if they are working around with other people. So are you the kind of person who works well with a team because you find it pretty hard to work on your own? Then chances are your personality is yellow. What kind of characteristics do they have? They're very expressive. They're the people who can talk about anything and everything. You meet them now and they can tell you about their children. They can tell you where they come from. They can tell you what they do. They're very expressive. They're very easy to go around with. And that also means they're very informal. They don't need to stick to business. They can talk about anything and everything else. They're actually not so much business oriented, but they're also very sociable. They're the most social people you're going to meet in this life. They can talk to anybody and everybody. They don't care whether they know you Whether they have ever met you before, that does not really matter. They're very, very sociable. That also means we say they are the life of the party. They keep things alive because they're very social, they are very happy, they're very enthusiastic about life. They are going to high five everybody. They're always the happy-go-lucky kind of person who can deal and talk with almost anybody. They're also very dynamic. That also means they are not very structured. They are not the people who say, this is what I'm going to do at 8, this is what I'm going to do at 10. They don't have to follow a certain procedure. So if things change, if there's a party in the evening and they are not even planned for it, they're still going to go to it. So they're very dynamic. They're always ready to change and fit in different situations. So they're very, very dynamic kind of people. So if you're dealing with this kind of a person, whether it's a client or a colleague or a boss, how do you communicate with them? Remember to socialize because they're very social. So you're not going to them and start talking about business straightforward. They want you to do a bit of socializing. These are the people you need to build a relationship. Remember when talking about communication starts with building a relationship, these are the people who you totally have to build a relationship with. So you have to really socialize and get a bit personal, talk about life, talk about the weather, tell them how good they look, ask them about their children, socialize, talk about the normal social things of life. Be enthusiastic and energetic. Remember, they love life, they love energy. They're always happy-go-lucky kind of people. So you have to really show that in return for you to be able to connect with them. They love humor. They laugh from today until tomorrow. So create a bit of humor and just have a good laugh with them. That's a good way of interacting with them. Acknowledge their input. They like being acknowledged. So whatever is good with them, whether they dressed well that day, whether it's at work and somebody did a good job, whatever good things you think they have, they love compliments. So compliment them as much as you can, acknowledge them as much as you can. It makes a lot of difference in their lives. Some things you don't want to do with the yellows, don't be impersonal. In short, don't be aloof, don't be too work-oriented. Don't just go directly and talk about work because they love life and they love talking about other social stuff. So if you're too impersonal, if you're not really connecting at a personal level, they're not likely to connect with you. Don't be too detached. Say don't be too work-oriented or task-oriented. Don't just go directly talking about work. Talk a bit about life before you get to the work itself. And don't be too formal. Don't be too business-like because they like a happy-go-lucky kind of an environment. They want to work as they have fun. They want you to sort out their issues as you generally talk about the normal things of life. So if you're too work-oriented, if you're too serious for life, you're not likely to get along very well with people who have a yellow personality. So again, ask yourself, do you think you're a yellow in terms of personality? Are you very expressive? Do you easily express yourself to anybody? Are you informal? You don't like very serious things? Are you sociable? You can talk to anybody and everybody in this world. Are you the life of the party? You can attend any party and still get to chat and communicate and hang around with almost anybody. Are you so dynamic that you can fit almost anywhere without even a prior preparation for you to be able to fit in there? Then that would mean that you have a yellow personality. Then the blue personalities, they are the deep thinkers. This one normally say, let's do it right. The red says, let's do it now. The yellow says, let's do it together. The blue says, let's do it right. They are the deep thinkers. They think things deeply. They look into the details of everything. So they're very deep thinkers. They're very analytical. They're very good at analyzing things. They can look at a situation, they're able to analyze. They can read a book and analyze it. So they're very deep in terms of how they do things. They are detail focused. Before they make any decision, they want to hear as much details as possible. They are very formal. They don't want to get into personal stuff as well. If it's business, it's business. We get work done. They're very organized. These are the people, if you moved something where they had put it, they are going to know. Oh, sorry, somebody says there's no sound from my end. Somebody confirm that. Purity, are you there?
Yes, I
can hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah. There's somebody who said there's no sound.
Yes. Can he leave the training and then join back?
Okay. I hope you can maybe respond to him on the comments.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure of that. Thank you. So for the blue, we say they're very detailed focused. They want to understand everything with deep details. They're very formal, very organized. So they're the people who know how everything they do is organized. They have a way of organizing their things. So they always want to be sure that how I will arrange my work, it remains like that. My workspace is well organized. How I'm going to start my day the following morning is organized. So they're very, very organized people, but they're also precise. As much as they like details, they don't want too many stories. They want to understand details, but in an organized way that they can easily understand, because they're also very logical. There are people who think very logically. They're very organized, they're very structured, they have a way of doing things, and they like it done that way. So if you're communicating with such kind of a person, which are some of the things you need to remember, give them as much details as possible. Remember, they want to understand details. So these are not the kind of customers you're just going to tell you, this one had a problem, this is what you're going to do. No, they want to understand what went wrong. How did we get here? What went wrong? Who did what? How did it happen? Now tell me how you're going to solve it. And in future, when this happens, what are you going to do about it? So they want as much details as possible when you're explaining to them a situation. Listen to them, because they don't like being interrupted. So you need to keep quiet and listen until they finish what they're talking about. Then after that, you can now, they're also going to give you a chance to talk, and they listen to you. Give them time to make decisions, especially if you're trying to sell them something. They don't make decisions abruptly. They need to first digest the information, understand what you're talking about. Once they are able to do that, then they can make the decision. So they don't make decisions instantly. They need to think through things. They need to digest the information and think about it. Be very formal. Don't get into their personal business. They don't want to mix business and personal stuff. Just talk about formal work only. Be very factual and be very logical. Give them all the facts, because they want to understand all the facts before they make a decision, and be very logical. Explain things in a way that they are flowing. That's the way they understand it. Don't be disorganized, because remember, they're very organized people. So if you're going to explain something to them and you're starting, then you're confusing, you're repeating yourself, you lose them in the process and they don't care. Don't be late. If you have an appointment with such kind of a person, they care about their time. If it's 9, it's 9. You have to show up exactly on time. Don't be vague. They want you to explain yourself clearly and sound like you know what you're talking about. But they also don't like it when things are too emotional. So don't try to make things sound emotional. It doesn't work for them. So you want to ask yourself, do you think you are a blue in terms of your personality? Are you a deep thinker? Do you take time to analyze things? Do you always want to understand the details? Are you formal? You don't like people coming too personal with you? How organized are you? Are you the super organized, super structured kind of people? Then chances are you are a blue. And of course, you also mean that you always have to get it right. Then lastly, we have the greens. The greens normally say, let's do it harmoniously. Let's do it harmoniously. So they're always looking to make sure that everybody is happy at the end of the day. So for them, that is the most important thing, that everybody is actually happy by the end of the day. So they are normally very relaxed. They are normally the cool, calm, and collected, like I always say. The greens are always the cool, calm, and collected kind of people. They're always very relaxed, even under the most pressure. You will not see them lose their temper. You will not see them looking distressed. They're very caring, so they care about people more. That's why we say they are people-oriented. They care so much about people. So if work has to stop for somebody to be taken care of, then they will stop that work until somebody is taken care of. They're very encouraging. They're always looking to make sure everybody is happy, you are doing well. So they're going to encourage you and make sure if you're having a bad day, that you're okay. They're very patient. They're always very, very patient. They're willing to wait for you to do whatever needs to get done, to listen until you get a solution. They are not going to push you. They are not in a hurry. They're very patient. They're very sharing, and like you said, they're sharing and caring. They're the people who are going to share whatever they have, whether it is work they're going to need. They're always willing to share to make sure that you're actually comfortable and you're happy. Very understanding. So whatever explanation you have for things not getting done or for not being able to do something, they'll understand. They're always understanding and willing to wait until things can actually get done. So they're normally the very cool, calm, and collected, the most caring people, and the people who rarely get to lose their temper. So if you're dealing with such kind of a person, you need to be very friendly, because remember, they don't like commotion, they don't like disagreements. So you have to be very friendly. You need to be able to show genuine interest in them. Be informal, don't be too serious also. They are people oriented, so they care about a bit of personal interaction. They're not very open, but if you ask them open questions, they're going to respond, because sometimes they might look like they're not saying what they want. them open questions, they're actually going to respond and be non-threatening. Don't push them too much. They don't like being pushed. They don't like being intimidated. Don't push them. Don't put them on the spot. They don't like everything. Whether it is for a good reason or bad reason, they don't want to be put at the center of anything. They don't want to be the person of interest. Don't dominate them because they don't like being pushed. They don't like feeling bullied. They don't like disagreements. So don't dominate them. Don't be abrupt. They need time to plan and think through things, but also don't make decisions for them. As much as they are slow and patient, so those are the green people, and the fourth category of people that you have. So you want to ask yourself, are you green? Are you the most relaxed, cool, calm, and collected kind of person who really gets angry, cares about everybody, and who is always very understanding? Or are you a blue? Are you the analytical, the deep thinker kind of a person who is very formal, very organized, and wants to understand the details before you make a decision? Or are you the yellow person, the most social person in the world who can talk to anybody and everybody and attend every party any day? Or are you the red, the person who is always pushing people to get things done, very competitive and very, very demanding? Purity, you can be giving us a poll. So where do you think you belong? Which is your dominant color out of the four? Do you think you're a red, a blue, a yellow, or a green? Purity, you can give us a poll.
Coming up shortly. Just hold on.
And as we wait for the poll, you could be asking yourself, do you think personality has something to do with how you communicate? Do you think there are people who easily become aggressive?
Blue, yellow, and green.
Red, blue, yellow, and green, yes. Do you think there are people who easily become aggressive, people who easily become passive based on their personality, or people who easily become assertive, or people who easily become passive aggressive based on their personality? So as you think through that, you can put it on the chat box. So there goes your poll. Which color are you? We are giving you a minute to tell us your color.
Let's all participate. Uh, 25 people have answered so far. So the rest, I'm saying so far 32 people have answered.
Okay, that was fast.
Let's see the rest. 37 people, almost half, 50%.
Okay. So we can give them a minute, then we do, are you able to do the, what is it called? The results?
Yes.
We see
yes,
who are the majority in the team.
Yes, yes, I am able to show that. And then also other is asking, for some people, they fall between red and blue or blue and
but
yellow.
there has to be one that is dominant.
Okay,
so you will have.
So they answer on the most dominant one.
Yes, the most dominant one. We'll have one that is dominant and another one that follows closely.
Okay.
But you want to know which one reigns, which one is around you like 90% of the time.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right, at 63%, almost 20 more people are yet to answer.
Okay.
Do we stop the poll?
Yeah, I think so. I'm thinking most likely it's the ones who are sharing the machine. So it's
the devices. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, the results. Blue are the majority.
Whoa. Followed by green.
Yes, followed by green.
Very few yellows.
Very few yellows and also red. They're not the majority.
Reds are also not the majority. That's interesting.
I know. Rosemary, you are muted.
Sorry. Okay, so we are good.
Yes.
Yes, so I was saying that that would also tell you that sometimes we hire ourselves or we hire our own.
True, our photocopies.
Yes, we hire our own photocopies. So it would be interesting to know where the managers rate. So because chances are, and the supervisors, so because chances are you hire your own. Because sometimes you tend to get along with the person who is close to your personality as well. So that happens a lot.
Yeah.
But then I think that's also now tells us when you're interacting, the kind of people you're interacting with. You're interacting with people who like getting things right and who take their time to make decisions, who are very organized. So how do you communicate with them? And that also maybe will answer to the question, to the fact that maybe most of them, again, in terms of communication style, they are not likely to be aggressive or passive. They're either assertive or passive aggressive, because most blues lie there. Because most of the aggressive people are the reds, and the passive people are mostly the green. So the yellow also can become a bit passive aggressive and sometimes an extreme of manipulation. So that also tells us the kind of communication style that we are dealing with within the organization.
Yeah.
So I think that can take us to the last bit of emotional intelligence.
Okay.
Purity, or do you want to stretch?
I don't know. I'm just saying we are almost at 5:15.
That's why I just finished.
Joan or Richard, do you think we need a short break, or we just finish up?
Hello.
Hi, Richard.
Thank you very much. My thinking is we finish, then probably the best way to relax. So instead of maybe wasting another 5 or 10 minutes, which can be used. Okay.
All right. Let's continue. I hope we are not very far from the end.
Yeah, because this is the last item we are handling.
Sawa. Let's finish.
Yeah, so let's just finish. Let me see how to handle it in the next very few minutes without probably having to stop much. So the last bit is emotional intelligence. It's a concept that has become very familiar these days, so I don't think it's a strange concept for most of us. The reason why it has come up, because you say that people may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So it is not just about what you say, it is how you say it. Because the how you say it is what determines how you make people feel. So you might actually be saying the right things, but how you make people feel after you have said it is the most important thing. So whether you're dealing with a colleague or whether you're dealing with a client, you always want to have that at the back of your mind. How does it make them feel based on how you say it? So that's where emotional intelligence comes in. And that's why we say emotional intelligence is your ability to identify and manage your own emotions and manage the emotions of other people. It's not just about you, it is also about other people. How are you able to tell how you feel and how it is affecting the people around you? And how do you tell how the people around you actually feel so that you can actually be able to handle them and handle them well? So why does it matter? Why emotional intelligence? Because for the longest time, we have been talking about IQ, which is intelligence quotient. For the longest time, we have always cared about intelligence quotient. But with time, we have realized that people who don't have a very high IQ, that people who did not score all the A's. But out here, they are actually able to survive. So why are they able to survive? Yet they did not score all A's in school. Chances are because they have a better EQ, they have better emotional intelligence compared to the IQ. So the difference being that when IQ, we say that IQ is what helps you get into the door. IQ is what got you a job. It is the paper that you got from school, that diploma or degree is what got you a job. So it gets you through the door. But EQ or emotional intelligence is what helps you to succeed at the job that you do. So if you don't have a good EQ, you can get the job, but you don't succeed at it. So you need both of them. So your IQ is the ability to learn and understand, that is to do an exam and pass. Your emotional intelligence is the ability to use your emotions and your logical skills. Can you be able to make decisions even if you did not learn it in school? Logically think and make a decision. Your IQ means that you try to convince people through facts, is what you read in a book. Emotional intelligence is trying to reason, to convince somebody through reasoning, even if they're not things that you read somewhere. If you only have IQ, it means you're at the mercy of your emotions because you don't understand them. You don't understand your emotions. They are the ones who take control of you. But if you have a good emotional intelligence, you understand your emotions and you can actually be able to manage your own emotions. IQ means you're book smart. EQ means you're heart smart. You can be able to tell how you feel. You can be able to tell how other people feel and what you can do about it. That means that IQ can get you through school, but EQ or emotional intelligence is going to get you through life. And that is the major difference between the two. When you have good emotional intelligence, we say you're heart smart. You can actually be able to take care of your heart and take care of the hearts of the people around you. So people are more than just brains. So working with people is not just about their brains, it's also about their heart. In short, you should be able to look at people from a wholesome angle. You should be able to look at them holistically. But we are also not saying that you only care about one. We are not saying you are very highly emotionally intelligent, but you actually need both of them. It is like plugging one into each other. It's like taking the heart and plugging it into the brain so that they can work together. So you don't always use your brain to make decisions. You try to bring in the emotions around it for you to make a better decisions. And that's why we say that if you have a high IQ, chances are that you make better decisions because you're not rigid. You're not just looking at one way of doing things. You're able to look at somebody from a whole angle. You're able to stay cool under pressure because you keep check of your emotions. You can resolve conflicts and problems in a better way because you don't always say this is what is written or this is what we do. You try and ask yourself, how does this person feel and how can I be able to communicate with them? It means you have greater empathy because you try to fit into the other person's shoes. When the person comes complaining, what does that mean? I'm totally Connie have a problem hearing us. Purity, you could check or get back to them on that. If you have good IQ, it means you have greater empathy. You're able to fit into the other person's shoes, and you can also be able to take criticism. When somebody says that you are not doing well, or you need to change, or you need to improve, you don't take it personally. You actually listen to it, reflect, and see what you can actually be able to do about. On the other side, if you don't have a high IQ, what are the things you're going to struggle with? You're going to always play victim because you don't take responsibility for anything. So you'll always be playing victim. You become either a passive or an aggressive communicator. Like we say, you have a poor emotional intelligence. You're either keeping quiet or you're being too aggressive. You're not an assertive communicator. You are not a good team player because you don't want to take responsibility for anything, and you cannot even be able to understand other people. You're not taking care of yourself. You're always criticizing other people, and you don't want to take their opinion. You're not open to listen to other people. You're not open to taking other people's opinions, but you're overly critical. You're always criticizing others, yet you're not willing to take criticism yourself, or at least take feedback from other people. So emotional intelligence looks at 5 items. There are 5 items that we look at when you're thinking about emotional intelligence. The first one is self-awareness. The second one is self-regulation. The third one is motivation. The fourth one is social skills. And the last one is empathy or social awareness. So as we go through the 5 items, you want to ask yourself, which one do you think is your best and which one is your least? Which one do you think you are very good at? And which one do you think you need to improve on? So as we go through those 5 items, that is the poll we will have as we finish. Which one do you think you do very well? And which one do you think you need to improve on? So let's start by asking ourselves, what is self-awareness? What are the things we look at when you're thinking about self-awareness? Normally, when you talk about self-awareness, we're just saying, are you aware of yourself? Are you aware? Are you able to recognize and understand your feelings, your emotions, and how they affect people around you? So that is what self-awareness is all about. Your ability to understand your moods, your emotions, and how they affect the people around you. So what are the specific things we look at under self-awareness? The first one is your emotional awareness. Are you aware of your emotions? When somebody asks you, how are you feeling? Can you be able to tell them, I feel sad, I feel angry, I feel bored, I feel happy, I feel agitated? How many vocabularies do you have to describe your emotions? The more vocabularies you have, the more emotionally aware you are, because you're not likely to confuse how you feel. You know exactly how you feel. And when you know exactly how you feel, you can be able to tell, how does what I feel affect how I think, affect what I do, and affect how I say. whether at work or with the people around you, because that also matters. How you feel and affects very many things. You come to the work angry, that is how you end up responding badly to the people around you. That is how you end up not performing that day. That is how you end up being angry with clients. It all starts with how you feel. So if you're not aware of how you feel, it messes up your day. So your feelings affect the quality of your relationships, how you relate with the people around you, and your feelings also affect your performance. Because if you don't feel happy, chances are you're not going to do a good job that day. You're not saying you're always going to be happy. You're saying know how you feel, why you feel that way, and see what you can do about it so that doesn't affect the people around you and doesn't affect the work that you actually do. So always be emotionally aware. That's the first thing we look at under self-awareness, your emotional awareness. The second thing we look at under your self-awareness is how well are you able to assess yourself? How aware are you of your strengths and your weaknesses? Do you have a candid sense of your strengths and your weaknesses? Can you confidently say, I'm good at this, and this one I'm not good at, and I need to improve on it? That means you're self-aware, because you can assess yourself critically and tell where you need to improve. That also means you are always ready to take feedback. If somebody says something is wrong, you can actually check and see what you can do about it. You're always willing to learn and grow and become better. So you know you're not at 100%. You need to keep improving and becoming better. So that self-assessment of your strengths and your weaknesses is an indicator of how aware you are, how self-aware you are about who you really are. And the third thing we look at under self-awareness is your self-confidence. How confident are you as a person? Remember what we said, your self-confidence affects your communication as well. And we said confidence comes from knowing your abilities, your values, and your goals. So how sure are you about your self-worth and your capability? Do you think you are a human being worthy enough to be in this world? Do you think you are capable in terms of handling the work that you do and the challenges that come with life? If you are that confident, then you have your self-awareness. So you can be able to voice your views. You can be able to go out of your ways to stand for what is right and what is wrong. And that's what makes self-confidence very, very important. So when you're thinking about your self-awareness, okay, thanks, Anthony. At least you can see the screen. So when you're thinking about self-awareness, you're thinking about those three things. How good are you when it comes to your emotional awareness? How well do you understand your emotions and how they affect the people around you and you're able to control them? How well do you know yourself in terms of your strengths and your weaknesses? And are you open to learning and improving? And are you confident enough in who you are and your capabilities? And are you able to talk about your views and express yourself without being arrogant? That's the first thing you're looking at under your EQ or your emotional intelligence, your self-awareness, and it tries to look at all those things. The second thing we are looking at under your emotional intelligence is self-regulation. After you have understood yourself, are you able to regulate yourself? Are you able to control your emotions or to think before acting? Self-regulation is basically thinking before acting. Are you able to control or redirect your emotions when you're not happy or when you're having distracting emotions? So when you're looking at whether you have good self-regulation, what things are we looking at? The first thing we are looking at is your self-control. Are you able to manage distressful emotions? Are you able to stay composed under pressure? Are you able to think clearly even when you are under too much pressure? Can you be able to put yourself together, compose yourself, and think straight without banging things and breaking things that are around you? It's about your self-control. It's about you being able to control yourself. The second thing we are looking at under self-regulation is reliability, because regulation is not just about your emotions, it's also about how you do things. How reliable are you? Are you able to take responsibility for your own personal performance? Are you able to meet commitments and keep promises? If you tell somebody, I'm going to do this tomorrow, I'm going to get back to you, or you tell yourself from tomorrow, I'm going to be doing work this year, I'm going to start waking up early, I'm going to start finishing my work. Are you able to hold yourself accountable to meet those promises or to meet those commitments? That is part of your level of reliability. Can you be relied on to take responsibility for your performance? Can you rely on yourself to meet commitments and to hold yourself accountable to do what you promised yourself to do. The next thing under self-regulation is your trustworthiness. Are you able to maintain high standards of honesty and integrity? Can you admit your own mistakes? Can you act ethically, even when you're tempted to cut corners and do the wrong things because nobody is watching? Can you trust yourself to act ethically, even when you're tempted to do otherwise? Are you trusted enough to admit your own mistakes when you are wrong? Because that means you can be trusted. That means you can regulate yourself to do the right things, even when nobody is watching. And that's what trustworthiness is all about. And the fourth thing under regulation is your adaptability. How flexible are you to change? Today we tell you we are moving you from Lambu to Bon. How flexible are you? From today we say you need to work from home, but work has to get done. How flexible are you? Today you need to move from customer service and fit into the salesperson. How flexible are you? So flexibility also shows self-regulation, because you can regulate yourself to fit into different situations. And when different challenges happen, you can easily adapt without just complaining and wanting to go back to the way things have always been. You're able to adapt and move on to the next thing. And that becomes very, very important. So when you're thinking about self-regulation, you're asking yourself, do you have very good self-control? Are you able to stay composed under pressure? Are you reliable? Can somebody hold you accountable to do what you promised to do? Are you trustworthy? Can you admit your own mistakes and avoid taking corners when nobody is watching? And are you adaptable? Are you flexible to fit in different situations? Or are you always wanting to do things the same way you have always done all your life? That is what self-regulation is all about. And that's the second thing. The first one was self-awareness. The second thing is self-regulation. I said, as we continue, ask yourself, which one do you think you perform very well? Which one do you think you need to improve on? Then you have self-motivation, which was the third one. It's just your personal drive to improve and achieve. You have to constantly want to become better than you are. And that is what self-motivation is all about. Are you able to push yourself to become better than you actually are? So what things do we look at under self-motivation? Your drive to achieve and your commitment to stay on course. Are you able to hold yourself to meet certain standards? You tell yourself that this is how I will do work, and I'm not going to give up. I have to keep pushing until I get where I want to get. Because that is what achievement, drive, and commitment is all about. So you push yourself to meet your standards, challenge yourself to meet your goals, and you keep learning and improving until you become the best. So are you able to hold yourself accountable to do that? Your drive to keep achieving and your commitment to become better and to keep pushing as you go ahead. That is very, very important. Your drive to keep things and your commitment to keep at all times. So self-motivation comes with your drive to achieve things. It also comes with initiative. Do you always try to seize opportunities? Do you look at things happening at work and tell yourself, I can actually try this thing, even if it is not part of my work? Are you able to mobilize the people around you and tell them, I think now we need to correct this mistake, or we need to change the way you have been doing this, and we need to try doing this other new thing? How open are you to trying new things? Because that's what initiative is all about. Readiness to act on opportunities, seize opportunities, pursue goals that are beyond what is expected of you, and mobilize others so that you can actually be able to do different things and do things differently. That shows you have high levels of self-motivation because you take initiative. And the third thing is your optimism and resilience. Optimism and resilience. Even as you try to do different things, as you try to set yourself goals, as you try to push, sometimes you're going to meet a lot of obstacles, a lot of setbacks, things become difficult. But are you able to keep pushing? Are you able to remain optimistic? Are you able to stay with hope that things are actually going to get better? Are you able to be resilient, to know that even if there are setbacks, even if there are challenges, that it's not just me who is a problem, these are challenges of life, and I have to keep pushing until I make it. So you don't give up, in short. Just because you tried something and it did not work, you don't just give up. When things become difficult, you're still optimistic and you are resilient. You know you can fall, but you can still wake up and still continue pushing things. So that is what part of self-motivation. So under self-motivation, ask yourself those three things. Do you have the drive? Do you set for yourself goals so that you can achieve higher goals? Do you take initiative? Do you try new things, or do you just stick to what you're supposed to do? And are you optimistic and resilient even when things become very difficult? Do you keep pushing and stay hopeful that things will actually get better. So that's the third item under your emotional intelligence, your self-motivation. The third thing is about managing the people around you. The first three are about you. Your self-awareness, your self-regulation, your self-motivation is about you managing yourself. The next two things are about you managing the relationships of the people around you, which is very, very important. So the fourth thing is your social awareness, of what some books we call empathy. It's your ability to understand and respond to the needs of the people around you. So how well do you understand the people around you, your clients, your colleagues? Can you be able to look at them and understand where they're coming from and try to deal with them based on that? So the first thing we look at under social awareness is empathy. Empathy, we normally say in normal English, is trying to fit into the other person's shoes. Do you ever try to understand things from the other person's perspective? Or are you stuck with the way you think and the way you want? So do you try to first listen to the other person? Try to understand their feelings, their needs, and their concerns. Why are they complaining about it? What exactly are they feeling? What is their perspective? Why are they complaining and me, I wouldn't think that is a problem? Because even if it's not your problem, it might be a problem to them based on who they are, what they feel, and what their needs are. So you always try to understand things from the other person's perspective. Then when it's a client complaining, you want to try and understand things. How are they seeing it from their perspective, so that you can be able to address things from their perspective, not your perspective. Remember, like we said in communication, it's about the other person. So try to understand it from the other person's perspective, not about how you think it is supposed to. And that is what empathy is all about. The second thing under social awareness is understanding others. Just because trying to fit into the other person's shoes is not enough. Once you have tried to fit in and you have tried to understand, you show sensitivity, show that you actually understand, that I understand where you're coming from, and I see why this one is an issue to you, and then try to help out. What can you do about it? After you have understood why they are complaining or why they are struggling or why they have a concern, you need to do something about it. And that just fitting into their shoes is not enough. You need to do something about it. So what can you do about it? Whether it is a colleague or a client, what can you be able to do about it? So try to understand things from the other person's perspective and do something about it. The third thing under social awareness is developing others. Are you able to make other people become better? You don't have to be their boss for you to do that. You just need to learn how to acknowledge people's strengths and accomplishments. Give people positive feedback. When somebody does a good job, tell them they have done a good job. If somebody is good at dealing with complaints, you let them know you do very well with customer complaints, or you're very good at how you sell, you're very good at how you talk to people. Always acknowledge people's strengths. Tell people what they are good at. That is very, very important. Always remember to tell people what they are good at. It's a way of growing them, because they know what they are good at, but they also know what they can need to improve on. So always give people useful feedback. What are they doing well? What can they be able to improve? That way you are able to develop other people. So the people around you always take the chance to appreciate who you are and what they can actually become. And the first thing is leveraging on diversity. How well do you relate with everybody? How well do we relate with people from all backgrounds, irrespective of their ethnic backgrounds, their social background, their economic background, their educational background? Can you everyone? How do you talk to a client who did not go to school? How do you talk to a client who is very learned? How do you talk to somebody who comes from a totally different community that you don't understand their culture? How are you able to communicate and respect everybody? Because that shows your emotional intelligence. If you cannot be able to relate with everybody, irrespective of their background, then we have a problem with your emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence demands that you should be able to respect and relate well with everybody, irrespective of their background. And if there's somebody who is has been biased, or somebody who is stereotyping people because of their background, you should be able to challenge that. You don't work with people who are always talking bad about other people's backgrounds and you keep quiet about it. So you should challenge it. You should challenge bias and challenge intolerance, so that people learn how to respect everybody irrespective of their background and be able to work with them well and relate with them very well. And that is what social awareness is all about. So if you want to know if you have good social awareness, ask yourself, how empathetic are you? Do you always fit into other? 2, how well do you understand other people? Do you try to show sensitivity about other people's feelings, and do you try to help them out, or you just leave them wafanye vile watafanya? Do you try to develop other people? Do you take better? And finally, are you able to respect and relate well with everybody, irrespective of where they come from, without bias, without judgment, without stereotyping? That shows your level of emotional intelligence. And the last thing under emotional intelligence is your social skill. How well are you able to build rapport and manage relationships with other people? So it is not just about being talkative. Just because you talk to everybody does not mean you have good social skills. It is about fostering good networks that you can be able to work with. So under social skills, what are the things we are looking at? Your level of influence. Are you able to convince people to do something? Can you convince a client something? Can you convince colleagues to look at things from a certain way? This is important, whether you are a team leader or not. It's always good to be able to persuade people. Are you able to persuade people to listen to you? Can you talk to people? They can actually, you win them over, and they actually come to your side and agree with you because they can see what you're talking about. Influence is very important in social skills. The second thing is communication. It's good we started by mentioning communication. How well do you communicate? But like we said, it's not just about passing information. Are you able to pass difficult information? Can you give somebody difficult issues straightforward without trying to hide it? Can you tell somebody this is wrong without trying to cover it up? Can you be able to listen well and seek mutual understanding? Like we said, communication is for the other person. Do you wait until the other person actually understands, or do you assume they have actually understood? Are you open to two-way communication? Good news and bad news. Can you comfortably take bad news? If somebody comes to you and says you did something wrong or you did not handle me well, can you comfortably take bad news? That shows you're a good communicator. You can pass bad news, you can listen well to others, you can make sure they understand you, but you also are willing to take good news and bad news. That is part of communication. Conflict management, something else that we look at under your social skills. How well are you able to manage conflict, be able to handle tense situations? When you have people who are not agreeing, when you have a client who is complaining, or somebody who is not complaining, but you can tell they are not okay, can you look at somebody and tell they are actually not comfortable? They are not convinced. They still have some doubts. Can you look at it and be able to handle that situation? Are you able to spot conflict and disagreements and let the person speak their mind and allow them to talk about it? Have an open debate, an open discussion about it, where you don't necessarily have to win, but you listen to them, they listen to you, and you find a middle ground. That is what conflict management is all about, that you eventually both win. You don't have to win, and you don't have to let the other person win. Assertiveness. You both get to say what you think, and you both get to win or get something out of that discussion. That is very, very important. You need to learn how to handle difficult situations with tact and with diplomacy, very assertively, so that you can let other people bring all their bad issues that they want to talk about, listen to them openly, we explain the situation assertively, and make sure everybody gets what they need to get at the end of the day. That is a very important skill for your emotional intelligence. And finally, we have leadership. Leadership, again, leadership does not need you to be a leader for you to show leadership. Are you able to step forward to lead regardless of your position? If there's some work that needs to be done, do you step back and wait, or do you volunteer to get it done, even if it's not your work? That shows leadership. Can you guide others? If you have a new colleague in the office, if you have a client who is complaining, can you be able to guide other people to make sure that they are doing the right thing? There's a way things are supposed to be done. Do you lead by example by making sure that you do the right thing? So that you make sure that you lead by example and others can actually follow you, because that's a mark of leadership. And that shows your social skills. So that's the fifth thing that we look at under your emotional intelligence, social skill. Do you have influence? Can you be able to convince people something and they actually agree or follow you? Can you communicate well? Difficult issues, take bad feedback and be open to it. Can you handle conflict, or can you be able to bring conflict on the table so that people talk until they agree? Do you demonstrate leadership? Do you lead by example? Do you step forward to show leadership even when you're not a leader by title? And that is very, very important. So those are the 5 aspects of emotional intelligence that we look at. If you look at them, they have very little to do with your IQ. They have very little to do with what you learned in school. But if you learn those things, they make you a better person, not just at work, but also in just normal work relationships, at home, with your friends, wherever you are. It becomes far much easier for you to get through life, rather than just knowing that I got my A's and that is it. You need to be very self-aware. You need to know your emotions. You need to know your strengths and your weaknesses, and you need to have good self-confidence. You need self-regulation, control your emotions. You need to be reliable. You need to be trustworthy. You need to be adaptable to changes. You need self-motivation. It means you need to set yourself very high goals. You need to learn how to take initiative, and you need to always be resilient and optimistic when things become very difficult. Social skills or empathy, learn how to fit into other people's shoes, develop the people around you, show them what they are good at, learn how to deal with people from all walks of life, irrespective of their backgrounds, and always go out to assist each other and make them become better. Social skills, step up and lead others, learn how to solve conflicts or deal with aspects of emotional intelligence that you can now our last call. Yeah, it's exactly. Okay, we passed by 5 minutes already. Can you give us our last call?
Yes. Just hold it. Let me launch it in a minute.
Okay. So we are looking at which aspect of emotional intelligence do you think you are very good at? Or I'm sure Purity will see how to phrase it, and which one do you think you need to improve on?
Okay. Oh, so one is which one you are very good at, and which one you need to improve, right?
Alternatively, you can just list the 5 aspects, and somebody will pick their best and their worst. I don't know which one works.
Okay, just hold on. Self-awareness.
Meanwhile, if you have any question, kindly put it on the chat box. And thanks, Richie, for the summaries as we continue. For purposes of the people who are in remote areas where network is a piece of work. Yes, and he's telling us social skills is also called their social currency. Yes, and normally we say these days your social currency is more important than any other thing, because how well you get along with people is how easier your life actually becomes, because your problems are solved by other people. So if you cannot really learn how to interact with people and keep good relationships with people, the chances are you'll struggle to somebody. And he's saying the world is hard, so you have to know how to manage hard things. That's very true. Things don't come easy, so we have to learn how to manage the hard things, especially conflicts. So hopefully, Likoni people finally found their way.
I really hope so too.
Yeah.
Okay, the question is on your screen now.
Okay. I can't. Oh, okay, it has come. Oh yeah, that's a. Thank you so much for that. So look at the poll on your
one. Yes, one per category. One you think you are very good at, and the other one that you need to improve on.
Yeah.
Question.
Yes.
Somebody's asking a question?
Yes, I think it's Elsie.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, amepotea.
All right. 10 people have answered so far. Let's get more feedback.
Okay. Drop your comments so that we know what we are working on, or so that we hold ourselves accountable. For
Yes.
what we keep improving on.
Okay, 26 people.
Good progress. Let's continue. I'm thinking we are short of time. Purity, I had a video, but it's 11 minutes, so I'm wondering if we would want to pass that time.
The video is 11 minutes.
Yeah.
I think we can share with them together with the notes. Or what do you think?
That's what I'm thinking, because it's almost 6.
Yes. Okay, let's end the poll there. We have at least 50% feedback.
Okay.
There are the results.
Okay, so the highest, which people think we are good at, is self-motivation. That's
Yes.
pretty interesting, and followed closely by empathy. Where we need to improve on the highest is self-regulation, and fun enough also on self-motivation. So I think we are 50-50.
Yeah.
But I see a close relationship on improving self-regulation, self-motivation, and social skills.
Yeah.
Yes, they are very closely related, but I think we have a lot of self-regulation, which is very important, especially when you're dealing with clients. Your self-regulation becomes very, very important. But if you improve on your self-awareness, then chances are your self-regulation becomes easier, because if you understand your emotions, it becomes far much easier for you to regulate yourself. So knowing that also becomes very important, because then you ask yourself, what do you need to really work on, which is very, very important. So I think most people feel they have very good levels of empathy, and also very few people need to improve on empathy. So I think our best area would be empathy, because also the people who need to improve there are very few. So as much as you have very good scores on self-motivation, we also have a huge group of people who think they still need to improve on their self-motivation, which is very, 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 very important. So I think that gives us a general idea of what you're doing at. So the video is going to give us ideas on how to improve or how to manage our emotions better. So for those who want ideas on how to improve their emotional intelligence, we will share the video together with the notes. The video is going to give you quite a bit of ideas on how to improve your emotional intelligence. So I think that brings me to the end of the 3 items. So I can hand it back to you, Purity.
Right. Thank you so much, Rosemary. I believe that is very, very, very insightful. We've learned a lot. I always keep learning something from these sessions, as much as I could have had them like a million times before. But I feel like every other time there's something to learn. So thank you very much for that. I think we'll pick a few questions. They're not many, because most of them I feel like they've been answered along the way. But let's see. Let me pick any question that was popping. A lot of questions also have been asked around dealing with difficult customers. That's a whole topic on its own. So if you are patient enough, that's a topic we'll get to within the 6 weeks, or dealing with difficult people, passive-aggressive people, or very aggressive people. So that one, let us postpone it to the next session that we'll have later on. Let me see. Okay. I think that is it. I feel like almost all questions have been answered one way or the other, but let's see. Yes. I feel like we have really answered a lot of these questions. Thank you very much, Rosemary. The team from Simba Telecom, I saw they came with notebooks and pens. That is very recommendable. Like they were. Sorry?
We lost you at some point, the audio.
Oh, Paul, I'm saying like they came ready to learn. I see most of them have notebooks, pens. They're busy taking notes as we continue. So I think that is very, very recommendable. We'll share this particular presentation that Rosemary has used. And also we'll share the recording of the session so that you can keep reminding yourself. Then we have 2 assessments. One is for emotional intelligence, and the other one is for the DISC personality test. So make sure once you receive those assessments, uzijaze vizuri. They have their answers on the assessment, but if you need more support or to understand how to interpret the results, feel free to write to us. Sorry, I think I don't have that presentation that has our contact, but you can write to us using our email, which is info@accurex.co.ke, or give us a call on 0715-767676 or 0784989898 for any kind of support that you may want. Let me tell you the next class that you'll be having. That is on Saturday the 17th. We'll talk about customer retention, influence, win, and retention. Know your customer and product knowledge. That is what we'll be covering in the next session. So come excited, go very happy, ready to implement what we have already learned so far. Rosemary, I'll read to you a few comments that are coming in through the chat box. One is from Joanne, the HR. She says, thank you, Rosemary. The other one is from Sharon, peril of wisdom taught today. Thank you, Purity and Rosemary. From Adhiambo, thank you. Thanks a lot, Rosemary and Purity. I have learned a lot. From Fred, everyone appreciates this exercise. We have learned a lot. Please share the slides with our HR for future reference. Definitely, we'll share this presentation. I think that is it from us. We'll give it back to Joanne to help us close this session, and we look forward to the coming Saturdays.
Thanks, Purity and Rosemary. It was really, really, really a nice afternoon, well spent. I want to ask for a volunteer to close this session with a word of prayer. Fred Kwame. Then Richard. Coach, you can even sing. Coach, you can even sing.
Yeah, I can. I can sing. If we can get more room, I can sing. All right, let's pray. Our dear loving Master in heaven, we thank you very much for this particular opportunity that you have given us so that we can acquire more information and wisdom and intelligence so that we can better ourselves and our business. So I pray this, trusting in the holy name of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Richard.
Yes.
Cheers, team.
Yes.
Okay,
Unfortunately,
bye.
some of you are not having a drink like me.
What are you drinking? What are you taking?
Chamomile. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. See you next Saturday. God bless you all and good evening.
Okay, God bless you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Aquarini.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Asante. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Hi, Joan.
Bye bye. Hi from Kakamega.
Hi from Ilgoris.
Team Prudential here.
Bye from me.
Bye.
Bye from Kakamega. We are saying hi.
Bye.
Next time tukue na chai.
Tukue na chai. Lazima.
Juice wakicheza.
Na Fanta.
Yeah, ni sawa. Kama ni chai itakuwa sharia mara dhada. Kama ni aje?
We'll really
Una
appreciate
Fanta?
if
Kwanza
there is-
namulia na ndio mna break chai.
Oi.
Bye.